we'll make this work. Hey, how's it going, everyone? Nick Marro, DFS here with DFS Jayhawk and Occupy Fantasy. As always, helping you break down tonight's NBA DFS main slate on both DraftKings and FanDuel. We got a nice 6-gamer tonight. A lot of guys already ruled out. Not a ton of great payups, if I'm being honest, but a pretty interesting slate overall, Jayhawk. What are your initial takes as we dive into this one?
Yeah, definitely more of an interesting slate here, Nick. We were kind of talking pre-stream, not a bunch of great spend-ups. We'll touch through all of them, but I'm excited to break this one down here, Nick.
Yeah, definitely. And appreciate you guys getting in here early. We got Ben as always. Conscious Machine, welcome, man. It sounds like your first time. So I read your comment here, looking for a live show. The Southern guy you're talking about is Smitty. He has been a beast all season. He will be on the show several times a week. We have a rotation, 4 or 5 of us, but I think we all got some pretty sharp minds in here. So appreciate you tuning in. I hope you stick around. Luke in here as well saying Washington value. Yeah, Trae Young tonight. We'll be back, but limited, so we can go right back to Washington. Appreciate you, Heath. Appreciate you, Cards. Appreciate you, Jose. We got all our friendly regulars in here. And yeah, Kate or Wemby, certainly a question we'll be answering when we get to that game. For those of you who are new, the way we do things here is we try to, at least when I'm hosting, break things down game by game. So if you have questions, try to ask them when we're talking about that particular game. I'll do a pretty good job of getting to anything that is relevant. If we miss anything at the end, we will get to those questions as well. And we will do a dummy build on both DraftKings and FanDuel where we'll give you our favorite plays. But always happy to have the chat engaged, Jayhawk. Without further ado, let's dig in here. 7 o'clock, we got 2 games locking. First one we're going to talk about is Dallas taking on Orlando in Orlando. Magic, not surprisingly, going to be favored at home here. 228.5 point total. Starting with Dallas, though. Cooper Flagg's going to be back tonight. They have no Brandon Williams. Marvin Bagley, Musa Sisse both out. Kyrie obviously out. No Derek Lively. Najee Marshall is in. A few G Leaguers listed here. Klay Thompson, who's missed some time, he will be back from Meg the Stallion. He's going to be available here. No ownership really going to this team. I know it's redundant for those of you who tune in every day, but I always like to say when a team is getting healthier, they're going to be tough to get to because everyone's kind of priced up for those players being out. PJ's been in and out. Marshall's been in and out. Flagg has been out since the All-Star break. He's returning here tonight. He can't really be playable with that 25 minutes cap. But yeah, man, it's not the worst spot. No one's really getting to this team. You could maybe mix in guys like Christie or Marshall in tournaments. Gafford stands out to me, but there's a lot of good centers at that price. So yeah, really nothing that I'm loving from Dallas, Jayhawk. How about you?
Yeah, pretty much on the same page, Nick. I think all these guys are just like fine sprinkle plays and 150 max or whatnot. So I'd kind of agree. I think Gafford probably looks the best. I'm getting a little bit of Max Christie. After that, I think that's pretty much where I'm looking towards. So, yeah, not a lot I love here, Nick.
Yeah, the model has Christie as the best value on both sites, which is interesting. He could get hot from 3. Scoring dependent, though, certainly some risk there, but probably worth mixing in at low ownership. On the other side of the ball, maybe a bit better of a fantasy spot, we have the Orlando Magic. Anthony Black, who's been out, is going to be available. Still no Franz Wagner. Jonathan Isaac's going to be out. And Wendell Carter, who missed the game where we saw Goga play pretty well in his absence, is going to be back here. Carter Jr. looks great. I mean, Dallas has not been good at defending the center position at all this season. He, prior to going down with that injury or rest, whatever you want to call it, had been playing better. Not that he's been great, but the minutes are up for him, which has been a concern for him earlier in the year. I don't mind mixing him in. Definitely an appealing center play, getting a lot of love, though. We've been playing some Paulo. I mean, you nailed it the other night being bullish on him. I think it's another great spot for him. We do have to keep in mind with Anthony Black returning to the lineup, those amazing usage rates we're seeing could go down a little bit, but not to the point that I'm concerned about playing Paulo. And I said it in the intro, there's not a ton of great payups tonight. So Banchero to me, kind of a borderline core play. Black and Suggs are both tough to get to because I don't know what those minutes are going to look like between the two of them. We had been getting to De Silva as a value play, but again, with this team getting a little bit healthier, again, Black and Wendell Carter returning to the lineup, it's going to be tough to still want to get to him at all. At 1% owned, though, I do still think he starts. So if you want to mix him in, I don't think it's crazy. But really, Carter, Banchero for me, little bit of De Silva. That's probably it for the Magic. Jayhawk, how about you?
Yeah, I think it's a pretty good spot here, Nick, for the Magic. Dallas, pretty soft overall team, especially in the front court. So love Wendell in tournaments. Love getting to Paulo. I'm pretty much with you there. And then after that, like Desmond Bane, I will say I do like him a little bit more today. Lower ownership here. So fine mixing in Bane. And then Jalen Suggs, I kind of did want to hear your take on him. I think he's okay. I think I'd rather just get to Bane personally. But what are your thoughts here with Suggs?
Yeah, I mean, we're going to talk about the Spurs in a little bit. We have those guards that are kind of the same price as Suggs. I just don't know what the minutes are going to look like there. Javon Carter's cutting into this rotation now, too. I think they're going to play him more than they were playing Tyus Jones. So with Anthony Black back and Suggs having been limited recently, I think the 27 minutes we have him for is going to be pretty accurate. So he's gotten there before, but I just don't really trust the minutes for a guy that's pushing 7K on DK and over 7K on FanDuel. But I don't know. There's crazier plays for sure. But I appreciate the Bane call. I probably should have mentioned him.
Yeah, I think Bane is fine as a pivot in tournaments to follow as well.
Yep. A few more chats here. Just going to try to keep up with things. We got Amari Chan. Appreciate you as always, my man. Becoming a regular yourself. Really like seeing you every day. Luke here saying the value's there to play Cade and Wemby. It is. It's going to be a little bit thin, but we'll talk about it. CA always wants us to do late games. Time permitting, my man. With 6 games today, we might be able to. Jayhawk Militia in the building. Shout out Hot Billy Forever. Shout out Big Stacy. Rocket Sauce saying, yo. Question here from Jason is why I wanted to hurry up the chat before we got past this game. So, we don't talk about Showdown much, but Gafford, Jason Elfers here is asking about the Showdown slate. I don't mind the Gafford play. I will say Carter Jr. is preferred at a similar price. Showdown, you're always looking to get a little bit different. I think those two are underpriced regardless. I think this Silva is kind of a sneaky value play if you want to throw him in a utility spot. Any thoughts on the Showdown here, man? Obviously, if you can afford Banchero at captain, he's probably the guy. Tough to say there's anything on Dallas I love outside of Gafford, so I don't mind that call, but I'd probably be Orlando heavy. Thoughts on that?
Yeah, pretty much on the same page. I think like running back, maybe 1 to 2 Dallas, Gafford, Christie are top on the model, so pretty much a line there.
Yep. Reggie saying talk FanDuel. We do, man. If there's anything specific you want to ask, feel free to ask, but try to cover both sides of things. Always. Bane always smashes Dallas. Don't mind the call there, Luke. Again, Swerve, appreciate you, my man. We will talk about Duncan Robinson. Might have to remind me about Sharif, but definitely some talking points as we get into these games. CA is in the UK. That's why he's always playing the late games. I appreciate that, my man. I'm a night owl myself, so I'm playing a lot of those late slates. And yeah, appreciate you, Jason. Avon and Sengun are in. Powered and HB cards on top of the news. Jabari could be back tonight. We'll talk about that as well. And FanDuel value at each position. So, Reggie, at the end, we're going to build a FanDuel lineup where we will prioritize value first and kind of go from there. And yeah, tonight we are low on Flagamari. We did just get word that he's going to be limited to 25 minutes. You guys are keeping me busy today. I definitely appreciate it. Let's get into another really big game for this slate. We got the Utah Jazz taking on the Washington Wizards, 2 teams that are tanking, but a 243.5 point total here. Washington just slight favorites. Pretty interesting spot. Let's start with Utah. No Keontae George, Jaren Jackson, Walker Kessler, Lauri Markkanen, Yusuf Nurkic, or Vince Williams. Most of these guys outside of Keontae and Lauri have been out already, so no major news here. At the same time, this is a team that is lacking a lot of their better players. Starting lineup, we're going to see Collier. We're probably going to see Harkless at the 2 again, Ace Bailey, Cody Williams, Filipowski. The most consistent minutes for this team have been going to Ace Bailey. I think at his price on both sites, he looks great, especially on FanDuel at just 6,100. The model absolutely loves Elijah Harkless here, and this is certainly a point worth talking about. He had 2 great games against the Pels. Since then, he's been disappointing. The minutes have been there. He's on the floor, but he's more so there to be playing defense. Shouts out to whoever talked about him kind of staying glued to Maxey last night. That was actually a hot take at the time, but he did do really well defending him. Collier I like, but they're not as willing to give him the crazy minutes that they were right after the trade deadline. Once they got Vince Williams, those went away. I was kind of thinking that with Williams going down to injury, we'd see more minutes for Collier. But again, they're kind of tanking, so he's not going to get as much run as we hope regardless. Don't mind Filipowski. He's been pretty consistent. But again, I think the safest play here, quote unquote, is Ace Bailey, as weird as that is to say. Don't mind getting to a little bit of Collier, Filipowski. Harkless, the model's telling us to play him. It is a decent bounce back spot. I can see mixing him in, but the Jazz rotations have just been tough to project, if we're being completely honest. So, Jayhawk, how do you feel about this team on the road?
Yeah, Nick, it's a battle of the 2 tanking teams here. Shockingly, I think this is actually a decent spot for Utah. Starting with Ace Bailey, I agree. I think he's probably the safest overall, so like him a good chunk. And then one more name I did want to throw out there is Sensabaugh. I think he could potentially play well in his minutes in this spot. So I like Sensabaugh. a good chunk in tournaments. And then Coley, I'm a little bit lower on as well. Just the price point, I don't love here. So it's mainly Sensabaugh and Ace Bailey here for me.
Yeah, I believe Keontae George played that game against Philly. We only saw 25 minutes for Collier. He did get to 32 fantasy points. I don't hate him at the price, but I do think he's a little bit over-owned. The Sensabaugh call is not bad. Would say it's more of a FanDuel play, though, just given the discrepancy in the prices there. He's been coming off the bench, and they put a cap on his minutes lately as well. They're mixing in guys that we don't want to play, like Hinson, Svi, Mobamba. But, yeah, it's more just affecting the guys that we would be playing. Over on the Washington side of things now, big news. Trae Young will be making his Wizards debut. At the same time, you don't really want to be playing him. We have him at just 18 minutes. I'd be surprised if he played more than 20. He's probably going to start here, but I wouldn't really look too deeply into Trae as a play. What it does do, though, is it could cut into the usage of some of these other guys. But all that being said, there's no Kaishan George tonight, no Alexandre Sarr. Vukcevic is still out. Jameer Watkins and Cam Whitmore are out as well. We got a question about Sharif Cooper. I think he's the fourth point guard on the depth chart now. So I know he's been playing good in limited minutes, but I would proceed with some caution there. I think Trae could cut into him, even though Trae's playing limited minutes. The first talking point for us is probably going to be Julian Reese, going to get another start here at center. I will say Anthony Gill was out those last two games. Gill is questionable. If he's in, he could definitely cut into the minutes for Reese, who really hasn't done a ton with what he's been doing when he's out there. So I don't mind Reese, but I think it's pretty easy to just play other cheap centers tonight if you don't want to go there. At the same time, if Gill's out, I would like him more. So definitely just keep that in mind. Will Riley, I think we feel differently about this guy. I like him. But he's super inconsistent, right? I don't know what he's going to look like with Trae on the floor. He does get in foul trouble sometimes, but he's been leading this team in minutes, which, similar to Ace Bailey, does go a pretty long way for me. So I don't mind mixing in Riley. I am a little bit surprised at the ownership, but at the same time, he feels like the safest quote-unquote click here. Bilal Coulibaly has flashed crazy upside. I would say he's second for me, more so on DK. Overpriced on FanDuel, but you do have stock upside. So in summary, I like Riley. I kind of like Coulibaly more so on DK. Jayhawk, how do you feel about the Wiz?
Yeah, so Nick, contrary to how I felt about Riley a couple nights ago, I'm actually really bought in today on Riley here.
Nice.
I like the matchup, like the price. I don't love the ownership, but he's pretty cheap. So love Riley here. And then I'm with you on Coulibaly. I think he looks better on DK, getting a good chunk over there. And then in terms of Angel Reese's brother here, Julian, I think he's fine. I don't love the price point here, sub 4K, but if you want to mix him in, I think he's fine as like a tournament stuff.
Yeah, again, for me, it really depends on Gill. Like, if Gill's in, I don't know, he's going to cut into those minutes. If he's out, I think it's pretty easy to just play Reese, given how cheap he is. The minutes should be there for him. They really don't have any other backup bigs other than Gill, so something to keep an eye on there. All right, let's get into the 7:30 window now. My Brooklyn Nets taking on the Miami Heat. The Nets still without Igor. Drake Powell down with the G League here as well. One take I was very wrong on last time was saying that I like Traore. I mean, the minutes were there, but he was just terrible. Like, he was out on the floor, made a few threes, actually had a decent score going into the half. But Jordy benched him. He had terrible court vision, had no assists in that game, I believe, which is just absolutely pathetic for a true point guard. I think you could go back there if you're desperate for value. Is it safe, though? Absolutely not. The plays I'm interested in here, and there's really not many, would be maybe Michael Porter. I think he's one of these mid-range guys with upside. If this game were to somehow stay close, it's going to be on the shoulders of one MPJ. Claxton got kind of eaten alive in this matchup. Clowney always has upside. You could play a little bit of Wolf, who's been playing better lately, but there are no Nets that I'm prioritizing tonight, Jayhawk. And if I'm not, I imagine you're not. But is there anything from Brooklyn you're liking here?
Man, yeah, it's always tough here with Brooklyn. I think MPJ, like you mentioned, probably the best target. I do want to ask one more time. I know we touched on him last night we were on, but Danny Wolf, once again, getting some love here. Sub 5K, I mean, I think he's fine. We don't have a lot of value today. What are your thoughts there, Wolf?
Yeah, honestly, I mean, he's been kind of streaky. He's taking more threes, which I like to see from him. At the price, I'm fine with it, man. I mean, 4 straight games over 20 fantasy points. You need a little bit more of that. more than that out of him, but he has spiked the ceiling. His best game actually came in maybe his toughest matchup when he took on Cleveland a couple of nights ago. When he's hot, Jordy will leave him out there. He'll get some extra run. But usually he's capped around 22 minutes. So I don't mind it as a tournament dart. I do see the upside there, but I can't sit here and say I'm confident in him, especially coming off the bench.
Yeah, I think he's fine as like a sprinkle value play. I'm pretty much with you there.
Yep. On the other side of the ball, maybe we do have some more appealing plays when it comes to DFS, though. What's that?
I was just saying yes.
Yeah, Miami. No Fontecchio, no Kashad Johnson back down with the G League after winning the dunk contest. Norm Powell is going to be out. Terry Rozier is out here as well. They are getting Pele back. Davion Mitchell's back. Drew Smith is available. Andrew Wiggins is available. Miami had some really good scores against the Nets last time out. I had one game that was kind of a game stack, looked good for a little while. Bam, absolutely crushed here. Took 17 shots, made most of them, had only 9 boards, but still over 50 fantasy points. A little bit surprised he's not getting more love on DK. On FanDuel, where he's forward eligible, one of my preferred plays in that kind of 8 to 9K range. I do like him a lot. Khalil Ware came off the bench and absolutely crushed. I don't know. I kind of downplayed him a little bit, thinking that the minutes weren't necessarily going to be there for him. But he was on the floor with Bam at times. I mean, say what you will about the Nets, but they do have a pretty big front court, especially when Wolf or Clowney are out there with Claxton, just a tall team. So I think they're willing to play Ware a bit more. Kind of similar to what I say about the Nets. Like Jordy has them all on a short leash. Spoelstra keeps Ware on a very short leash, for lack of a better phrase. When he's struggling, he'll take him off the floor, so the minutes aren't always safe. But I think in a matchup like this, it's going to be tough for him to fail. So I like Ware. Definitely a center I'm going to be mixing in. My favorite play here, a little bit disappointed the model doesn't like him more, is going to be Wiggins. I mean, Bam would be first, but Wiggins at this price with Powell off the floor has been really solid. Even sub 20% usage, he's pushing 35 fantasy points pretty consistently. You can make a case for Larson, Hero, obviously. Honestly, the Nets defense isn't great, but they slow teams down a little bit. But that being said, with no Norm Powell, there's a boost for pretty much everyone. I don't know who stands out the most for Miami, but I do think it's wise to mix them in here. Jayhawk, how do you feel about the Heat?
Yeah, I think Miami looks pretty solid here. I do agree with you. I think the pace will be slower, but I think it kind of benefits guys like Ware, Bam a little bit. So like both those guys, Bam and Ware here. And then Andrew Wiggins is my highest, one of my highest owned forward plays here. So love Wiggins. I did want to ask you a lineup question here. Would you be okay with Bam and Ware in the same lineup?
Yeah, I think so, man. Bam played 34 minutes last game. Ware played 29, which kind of tells you there's only 48 minutes to go around at the center position. They did share the floor a lot, even with Ware coming off the bench. So where they're priced, I think there's value on both. So yes, normally this is not something I'd be really leaning into, but they showed it last game in the exact same matchup that they can both get there and then some. So for sure.
I like it. I think it's a really good spot for both of them. So I'm with it.
Yeah, totally. Hero only played 27 minutes that last game. He did have a 32% usage when he was on the floor. I do think his ceiling is a little bit higher than maybe he's projected across the industry. But again, great matchup for this team in general. Let's knock out one more game here before we get back to chat. We got the Warriors taking on the Houston Rockets. Rockets favored at home, not as wide of a spread as maybe I was expecting coming into today. 213.5-point total, starting with Golden State. No Butler, no Curry brothers. Moses Moody's out. No Gary Payton, no Kristaps or Will Richard. Pretty interesting spot. Pods has been playing well. Melton's been playing well. Horford probably going to start here next to Draymond, given how big this Houston lineup is. He actually rates as one of the best value plays in the model, at least as of right now. Third on DK. Let's see. On FanDuel, he's the top value play at 4,700. The one issue is that he's center only. But I'll say this. I'd much rather play him than I would Draymond, even in the tough matchup. He has been solid. He's taking shots. In spite of his advanced age, he's been pretty effective. So I don't mind Al Horford, especially at the price on FanDuel. With Moody out, that should boost Melton. I think he's fine to get to. Again, Pause has been solid, but Houston, a great team defensively. One of the lower totals on the slate here. I don't know that you want to force anything, but pretty much all the starters outside of Draymond I have some interest in. Jayhawk, how do you feel about Golden State?
Yeah, I feel like the best way to put this is I feel like all these guys are kind of just mixing in my lineups. Like if I land on any of these guys, I'd be okay with it. I'm with you though. The matchup isn't great here against the Rockets, so I think I prefer the guards. So guys like Pods, Melton, I do kind of prefer to the bigs. So Pretty much those two I'm getting the most of, Pods and Milton. In terms of Horford, I think he's fine. I don't love the spot against Şengün, but yeah, I think it's fine to mix in tournaments.
Yep. Yep. See a lot of comments coming in, guys. We'll get to everyone in just a minute. Before we do, let's just knock out the Rockets here. Steven Adams still out. Şengün is questionable. Or no, he's available to play. Thompson's in. Jabari Smith is a game time decision. Fred VanVleet, Jayshawn Tate both out. We need that Jabari Smith news. That is significant. So Reed Shepherd has been absolutely crushing, but that has mostly been with Thompson out. He did play one great game with Thompson in, but keep in mind that was with Jabari Smith out. If Smith is in, I think Shepherd becomes less appealing. If Smith's out, though, at 6,300 on DK at no ownership, I don't mind getting to him a little bit here. Tari Eason looks fine. Again, another guy who's better if Jabari Smith is going to be out. Durant's been playing well, but he's priced up now. Thompson, first game back from injury or second game back. I'm not rushing to get to him. Really kind of need to see what the starting lineup looks like. I would love to see Reed continue to start, but that's not going to be the case if Jabari's in. So definitely keep an eye on the news here. For now, really nothing I'm forcing. But again, I think you could make a case for any of the starters. Nothing I can really call a priority, though. Jayhawk, how do you feel about the Rockets?
Yeah, you nailed it, Nick. I think this team's pretty much dependent on Jabari's news. I think Tari Eason either way looks pretty solid. Definitely better if Jabari misses. And then Alperen Şengün, I actually don't hate mixing him in here. I know Draymond's in, but I do like his spot here in this matchup. So mainly Şengün and Eason, and then that's pretty much it right now, Nick.
Yeah, I'm with you. And again, I will just once more reiterate that if Jabari's out and Reed starts, even next to Thompson, I would get to some Reed Shepherd for sure as a tournament play. All right, we got a lot to talk about here in chat. Joel asking what's the most important position in fantasy. I'd say first, like gut instinct is to say center because they're efficient, like they're under the hoop, they're putting up shots, but it depends on the slate. Like if we get news like last slate where Wendell Carter was out, we had obviously value at center, and all the centers become chalk. It becomes the other positions where people are getting different that become more important. Any thoughts on that, Jayhawk? I mean, kind of a tricky question in a vacuum, but I think we answer it kind of specific to DFS.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think it's totally slate dependent. Depends on what's going on. But I think like center, with it only being 2 spots on DK, I feel like that's obviously super important to nail those 2 spots. So I'm with you. Mainly center, but it could be different.
Yep. Gill is in for Washington. That is probably going to hurt Reese a little bit. Jason, another Wizards question asking about Jaden Hardy. He's been getting sneaky minutes. I don't hate it, man. He could still get there, but again, Trae Young's back tonight. He's going to play at least 20 minutes. I think he could take some of those minutes away. Where and Riley chalk of the slate? Yeah, feels a little bit thin Z if you want to get away from it. Is Wiggins a must? No. I would not say he's a must at his price. Again, Chris, this is fully dependent on Jabari Smith. Shouts out Power keeping us updated with the news. We got Ant in. Dorian Finney-Smith out should help a few extra minutes go around. But again, with all these guys back, Reed coming off the bench just hasn't been the same play. But we'll wait and see. And again, Ben on point here with everyone else letting us know that Anthony Gill is in. So again, I think he can still play Reese. At the same time, I just don't know that he has to play as many minutes. So it's taking me off him. We have a lot of good kind of 5K centers. We already talked about Ware. We talked about Carter. We talked about Horford. You don't have to go that cheap, I think, because there's not a ton on the slate to pay up, though. But using that as a segue here into where there are some pay up options, we got the Detroit Pistons taking on the San Antonio Spurs. 228.5 point total. 2 good defensive teams, though. 2 competitive teams. It should be a good game to watch. On the Detroit side of things, really no injuries of any significance at all. Cade Cunningham is Cade Cunningham. He struggled the last time out against these Spurs, but historically, I mean, he's kind of matchup proof. His ceiling is always as high as any play on the slate. One of the top OF index plays on the board here today. You could always get to some Cade if you could afford him. Wouldn't argue with anyone playing him, but over 11K, like I said, if you want to maybe leave out some of the cheap value, don't mind getting away from him there. It's tough to trust the rest of this Pistons team. I mean, Duncan Robinson getting crazy ownership, 26 minutes, 25 fantasy points the last time he played these guys, disappeared against Orlando. He's scoring dependent, right? But when his 3 is falling, he is too cheap for what he's capable of. I don't mind it, but a little bit surprised he's as popular as he is. Tobias Harris, Oscar Thompson, they're fine. Jalen Duren has been excellent all season. He actually did really well in this matchup last time out. 29 minutes, 48 fantasy points even against Wemby. So if you want to get to some Duren, I do like it. I actually think he's a more interesting tournament play than Cade at his price and ownership. At the same time, I don't know. It's risky. So I like Duren. I like Cade. Don't mind Robinson. think he's a bit over-owned, though, Jayhawk. How do you feel about Detroit?
Yeah. So starting with Cade, I don't know if you remember, but he shot, I believe, like 10 for 25 the last time out here against this Spurs team. Stephon Castle, very good defender. I think Cade's fine to mix in. Still don't love the matchup, but he's still Cade Cunningham. And then I love the Duren shot, Nick. Love him in tournaments. Should be kind of under-owned against Wemby here. So love Duren. And then Duncan Robinson, he's kind of like the biggest if spot for me. Right now, I'm coming in right around the field, but if you have conviction on him, I'd love to bump him up or bump him down. So did you have any like hot takes there? Do you like him a lot?
No, I think he's about as boomer bust as it gets. Like,
Okay.
he hasn't broken 30 fantasy points since I'm scrolling. Like,
Yeah.
and he hasn't done it once in 2026. So I don't think you need him. I think he's useful as like a value play that probably gets you 20 to 25, but I don't have a really strong take either way on him. Like, he's very much a neutral play to me.
Okay. That I kind of feel the same way, so that's perfect.
Yeah. Over on the Spurs side of things, Harrison Barnes is out. Harrison Ingram's out. He's with the G League. Mason Plumlee, who many don't even know is on the Spurs, is still conditioning, getting himself in shape to back up on Victor Wembanyama. Wemby is, I believe, let me just double check this, the top OF index play on the slate here today. Getting some love. He did pretty well in this matchup last time out. Duren is a good defensive center, but in 35 minutes had 63 fantasy points, took a lot of shots, did a lot while he was out there. I think if you could afford Wemby today, you'd certainly play him. I will say the model has him ranked ahead of Cade. I do prefer him over Cade, but center is deeper than guard, which makes it kind of difficult to really get to a ton of Wemby, but I like him a lot. I think both Castle and Fox are underpriced on DK. On FanDuel, Fox definitely a little bit more appealing with the 400 discount you're getting, but those two look good. The rest of this team has been tricky. Vassell is playing more minutes. He's inconsistent, but he's shooting well. I mean, if he can stay hot, I think at his price, he's under-owned. Honestly, the more I think about it, like seeing Fox and Castle both around 20% ownership and Vassell at 1% on DK, 4% on FanDuel, and much cheaper, probably a good tournament play. Champagne had a massive game against this team. He's about as boomer bust as it gets. Ceiling's there for him, assuming he starts. Don't mind mixing him in. Harper, talented guard. The minutes have been inconsistent. And I never want to play Keldon Johnson, but I will say today, 3,900 on DK. They're trying to get me there, man. It's pretty tough not to at least consider him at that price point. But outside of Wemby, I don't think anything's safe. I do like the guards. I think the sell is probably a better tournament play than either, though, just given the huge gap in ownership. But yeah, how do you feel about the Spurs here at home?
Yeah, we got to start with Keldon here, Nick. I think I'm kind of bought in at the price. We don't have a lot of value today. So I like Keldon a good chunk here. So love that shout there. In terms of Wemby, Nick, his minutes have been down the last few games. Also, his production. I think it's fine to go there. It's only like a 6-game slate, so we don't have a ton of spend-ups. I would obviously prefer Paulo, some of those other guys we talked about. So fine with Wemby. I'm a little bit lower. And then Stephon Castle, I think he's probably my favorite spend-up guard here for the Spurs. Like the spot overall. So give me Castle, some Fox, some Wemby. And then I love Keldon down here for cheap, so I'm with you there.
Yeah, just one quick thing on Wemby. When this team was competitive against Detroit, he did get to 35 minutes. If you're looking at the game logs, they blew Philly out of the building. So the reason he only played 24 was because they didn't need him at all. It's good to see that he can get over 30 minutes in competitive games. So I don't know that we need to worry too much about the minutes for him necessarily. They take him off the floor in a blowout, but assuming this game is close, I think he's good for 30 plus.
Yeah, and I did want to see, is it a back-to-back here? Because the last time it was a back-to-back, he played, I think, like 28 on the first leg. So I just want to make sure it's not.
Unless they play tomorrow, it's the front end. They had last night off.
Okay.
But, yeah, probably a game they want to win here at home. Another game we'll knock out here. We got the Toronto Raptors taking on the Minnesota Timberwolves. 226.5 point total. Timberwolves favored here at home. Not a wide spread. Should be competitive for Toronto. No Colin Murray-Boyles. Brandon Ingram, questionable. That's obviously going to be significant. So if Ingram's out, it's going to provide a boost to all of the starters here, namely RJ Barrett, Emmanuel Quickly, Scotty Barnes. If Ingram's in, those four are viable. But obviously, we kind of want Ingram out to be getting there all that aggressively. Point per dollar, I mean, Barrett definitely the most appealing. He stands out in the model, pushing a 15 value score on both sites. Looks really, really good here. The minutes have been up for him. He kind of does a little bit of everything, which helps the floor. We haven't seen huge ceiling games out of him, but again, if Ingram's out, a little bit of extra usage for him could go a long way. Don't mind Quickly and Barnes. Talking point for me here is going to be Jakob Poeltl. Disappointing against the Knicks, but the minutes were there. For whatever reason, he just wasn't taking many shots. I don't think it was because Cat was playing great defense or anything. It's just other guys were kind of doing more. I don't mind Poeltl here. I think he's another center to throw into that pool of guys that are like high 4Ks to mid 5Ks, and nobody's playing him. Obviously, he has to deal with Gobert here, but trying to go through the game logs. He's had some decent games against him in the past, so I'm not terrified of the matchup. Guys that can do well against Gobert are the ones that can shoot, get beyond the three-point arc, and he does kind of fit that mold. I mean, I'm back to 2024 to find a matchup against him, but 28 minutes, 35 fantasy points is enough for me to maybe consider him. That's pretty much it, man. Again, we kind of need to wait on the Ingram news, but for now, how do you feel about the Raptors?
Yeah, big news there with Ingram. I think both Barrett and Quickly look really solid. Obviously, I do have a little bit more Barrett here, just at the price with the model liking him. And then in terms of Pirtle, I agree. The matchup isn't great against Gobert, but they should need his size out there, assuming he does stay out of foul trouble. So I like the shout in tournaments, man. 1% owned. I don't hate taking a flyer there.
Yeah, again, it's risky, but there's a lot of chalky centers in that range. It's not a terrible way to get different. We did get word that Ant's in, right?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, he was questionable on the injury report when I pulled it up. Jalen Clark's available. Nothing else really significant. No Joe Ingles for personal reasons. He's more of a mascot than a part of this rotation now, unfortunately. You can get to some Ant tonight. He's not very popular. He is one of these pay-ups with a decent OF index score. Fine mixing him in. DiVincenzo, been okay lately. I mean, obviously, decent spot for Gobert, Randall, McDaniels. Nothing I'm prioritizing, I will say. Ant feels a little bit under-owned. I don't mind his ceiling. But other than that, I mean, it's kind of a tough team to get to, honestly, just a little bit healthier than they have been lately. Jayhawk, how do you feel about the T-Wolves?
Yeah, shockingly kind of a tougher spot here for Minnesota against this Toronto team. So I think Anthony Edwards always in play up top. Julius Randle, I wanted to get there last slate. Anthony Edwards ended up being rolled in. In terms of tonight, I think he's fine as a last piece in, but it's mainly just Anthony Edwards here for me.
Yep, I'm with you. And I will say Gobert, actually, like at no ownership, is fine to mix in. He's had some big games. If no one's going to play him, I mean, he's certainly appealing. A FanDuel, too, 6,400. A little bit too cheap, if we're being completely honest. We got Ant in, Gills in, Trae Young, 3 threes, Flyboy. He's got to do it in 20 minutes. Could he do it? Certainly. There are games where he just tries to facilitate those, so I'd be careful with that one. I wouldn't mind a sprinkle on it, but probably don't put too much of your bankroll there. Let's go ahead and get into these dummy builds now, man. Before we do, let me just take a quick look at ownership and just kind of see where we're at. Yeah, we got Riley. Okay. Where are we starting as far as this slate? Only 6 games. I mean, Utah-Washington is a very appealing game. I do think it's a little bit easier to get to, I don't know which side, maybe a Utah, but I'll probably want some pieces from that game. Where do you want to start?
I think that's a great game to target. Let's start with Riley, Nick. I'm bought in. I know he's chalky, but I like the spot.
Yeah, I'm with you. I do like Riley here. And let me run it back. I think the safest play on the other side, and again, we're looking at minutes, and these guys are projected for the most minutes on their prospective teams. We got Bailey and Riley. Obviously, with this being the early game, you don't want them in this bottom spot. You want them up here, but for the sake of the show, let's just keep plugging away. I don't know that we need to force a pay up. I will say if there's anyone, it's probably Wemby first for me. We can kind of see if we need to land there yet, though. Do you want to get where? I know we like Gafford. Like, I think it's a 2-center night no matter what.
Yeah, definitely 2-center night. Let's plug in Ware. We can plug in 1B2 if you want, but Ware for sure for now.
Yeah, I like Ware. I like Carter Jr. too. I think Dallas against centers has been terrible.
Yeah.
A little bit concerned that he's coming back from injury, but at the price, I think he's pretty appealing. All right, we're left with just sub 6 or 7K per player. Now looking at point guard, I mean, I don't know. I think if Smith's out, I do like Shepard
Yeah,
regardless of the ownership.
I like it.
If Smith's in, I kind of proceed with some caution there. There's not a ton of like cheap guys. Maybe we could pay up at guard. I'm not forcing Kate at 11K. I don't know. Is it pause? Like I don't love the matchup. Maybe Fox or um, we don't have Castle at point guard. Maybe it is just Fox.
Yeah, I think Fox is pretty solid, man, especially if we're not getting to 1B here.
Yep, I'm with you. And again, I would love to get to Wemby, but it's probably easier to go a bit balanced. We got Bain, we got Eason. Again, if Jabari's out, I really like Shepard. Um, Model likes Harkless. I don't know that we want to necessarily recommend him here yet, though. Anyone at shooting guard standing out to you?
Man, shooting guard's difficult. I was going to recommend. We both kind of like Keldon for cheap. Do we like getting to Keldon at 39?
Yeah, he's risky, but at the price, I'm fine with it, man. And we're going to be able to do like whatever else we want with the rest of these spots. Let's throw in Paulo. I think he could crush here for sure. 7,600 for a guard. I mean, Hero quickly pawns. I don't think you could go wrong any way there. I will say if Ingram's out, quickly is going to be the most appealing. For now, maybe we just stick with Hero. But any of these three are probably good, right?
Yeah. And then one more name I just want to throw out there. I think Barrett would look better as well if we do get Ingram out. So just one other name.
Oh yeah, absolutely. But yeah, let's go ahead. I'll throw in Hero for now against the
Okay.
Nets. Again, I really like Bam. I like where I think you can play them together. We like Wemby. Center is loaded tonight on DK. Probably just play two centers. Over on FanDuel, let's start at center. It's tricky. Wemby has forward eligibility. Let's do this. Let's jam him in here. I know he's expensive, but I want to see what it looks like. Starting at center, if we're paying down, I mean, we got Al Horford for 4,700. I don't hate it.
Yeah, let's get in Horford. I think we both kind of mentioned him in that game. So
Yeah, 1K cheaper on FanDuel than he is over on DK. Take a quick look at ownership here and see who's just obvious chalk. I mean, Bam at forward. We got Riley. Let's go Bam, Riley,
let's do it.
Melton, Bailey. I got the next few here. Ready?
I love it.
Rapid fire. Bam, Riley again. Again, no Moody today. We could get some Melton. And then if we were looking for safe, quote unquote, minutes from Utah Bailey. So this is a nice starting point. I think we got Bam Wemby, no really dirt cheap gross plays, and we're left with 5,800 per. Who else do you want to get in here? We got point guard, shooting guard, small forward, around 6K per.
Man, this is where I think it's kind of difficult because I love what you have in so far. I was thinking, like we mentioned, Keldon, Champagne is kind of cheap on FanDuel. I don't hate going there in tournaments.
I got one.
Okay.
Devin Vassell.
Ooh, okay. I'm fine with that.
Let me pull up the. I'll make my case for him here quickly. I know we haven't been loving him, but lately, man, he's getting there. 6 games, 5 games in a row over 30 fantasy points, 5,500.
Yeah, I'm fine with it.
Sign me up. I think Champagne might have a slightly higher ceiling, but we're only going to get that ceiling like once every 5 games. So I'll take the 30 from Vassell at 55. Point guard, small forward. Again, we're right around 6K per if you got anyone. We could probably play one of the Spurs guards. I mean, Fox is cheap.
Yeah, Fox is fine. I was trying to see with Detroit if we have a bunch of San Antonio, if there's anyone we could run it back with.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think we can afford Cade, unfortunately. So we're either going to be playing like really cheap Duncan Robinson.
It feels gross.
I mean, I don't hate it at 4K
like it.
if the shot's going to fall.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, Flag's on limited minutes. I mean, Collier is not insane at 79, but we'd probably want to move some things around. You can maybe go Castle, upgrade Robinson, something like that. Or if you like Collier, that's kind of where we're going to land. But
I like it.
again, not a bad build. Any other last minute news we got coming in here? Again, we made pretty good time today.
No, I think that pretty much is it. Love the Horford shout on FanDuel, though. I mean, I was just looking through. He is way too cheap over there, so love that.
Yeah, Houston is the biggest team in the NBA. They're going to need their bigs out there. Horford, he's been pretty consistent. On DK, the price is a bit inflated, but on FanDuel, it sucks you have to use the center position, but having Bam and Wemby with forward eligibility makes me much more comfortable taking him there. So I'm with you, man, for sure. No new news. If you guys have any last-second questions, yeah, no Cooper tonight, Kenneth, because we did get word from Kid that he's going to be limited. Let me find the exact quote. I think 25 minutes. Cooper Flag will be limited to 20 to 25 minutes Thursday per Jason Kidd. And I tend to believe him. He is that franchise. He's the future of that franchise. They're going to be cautious. So if he was cheaper, maybe, but only playing 25 minutes, I just can't do it. But yeah, I think that's it, Jayhawk. Any last thoughts before we get out of here?
No, just want to shout out Occupy. Obviously, we got MLB going on. UFC this weekend, big UFC card. Nick, I know you're excited. I'm excited. So make sure to stay top 10 with all of the rest of the tools here at Occupy.
Yeah, I'll do some plugs real quick. We got Chris and Smitty doing preseason MLB. Chris is in there dropping knowledge on the WBC. USA, I think, plays tonight. We have best ball stuff going on still. UFC going on this weekend. I know Brian and the guys are still doing golf. Just so much going on, guys. Check out the links in the description below. We got the new lineup builder going as well. There is a video in this channel which will kind of walk you through that. It is an add-on, but very much worth it if you're looking at MME. But again, like the video, subscribe to the channel. Helps us keep this free content coming out to you on a regular basis. Appreciate you all. Let's have some fun tonight. Take care and good luck.
Good luck, guys. Go out, Horford.